Welcome to the Silvan Australia Podcast, where we talk everything rural lifestyle. Welcome to another episode of the Silvan Australia Podcast. On this episode, we have Leo Schoonderbeek from Konigs in Shepparton with us. Thanks for joining us, Leo.
Good on you, Nick. Many thanks.
Leo, I must say, you're actually the first guest we're having outside of the business.
Oh, terrific. It's very rewarding to be able to be recognised as an important partner of the Silvan Group.
Hey, Leo, look, before we get too in depth with everything that you do over there in Shepparton, just explain to us how you got started in the Konigs business.
Basically, in the tractor and agricultural industry, I started when I was an age of 16. I did my apprenticeship with David Brown Tractors in Cobram, which is a local town not far from Shepparton. After 4 years and qualifying as a qualified mechanic, I did a huge number of night courses to advance my education. Then I got a job offered to me in Shepparton with the John Deere Chamberlain dealership called Furphy Implement Company, which is a well-known name in the Goulburn Valley and Shepparton, where I started there as a mechanic and helping in the parts department. That went on for around 4 years. That company ceased operation, and in a short period of time there, I was actually mechanicking from my workshop vehicle, doing servicing on existing clients for the John Deere Chamberlain product, because there was no representation as a dealer in Shepparton at that short period of time.
Okay.
The next thing there was that there was a John Deere dealership in Echuca, or Moama it was, that approached several of us, and then we all became 13 directors in 3 John Deere dealerships. That went on for a small period of time, maybe 3 years, and then Shepparton, we decided to sell Shepparton off. So 3 of our directors took on Shepparton, equal directors, and I was fortunate enough to be one of them. We carried on that dealership till we got a reasonable offer, and then we sold that. Once that was sold, I was an independent mechanic again, out in the field, and I was approached by Konigs to have a look at taking on the Koning network, and I decided to do that, and that's my involvement in 1992 at about the age of 35 to take on the Koning business, which was a great grounding, because I was being able to maintain the existing employees there, to mould myself into that sort of environment. It didn't take a lot of effort to improve that business. It was a Case International dealership. Then it was a Ford New Holland dealership. Then it ended up being a Ford New Holland, and then Fiat, and then just New Holland itself. And we were New Holland for around about 17 years. But over that period of time, from 1992, the relationship between Konigs and Silvan was probably one of the longest partnership that Silvan and Konigs have had. I can't recall exactly the amount of years that Konigs, or SW Konigs, had with Silvan in the past, because Konigs was an engineering company that employed around 126 employees making engine function air blast sprayers. Now, I think we're 27 years with the Koning name, and it was very, very good of us to be able to maintain the Koning name, because it's been a name that's been in the Goulburn Valley for now, I would believe, probably around 60 years. So it's a good, credible name, and that's why we've maintained it as Konigs Shepparton. There is no Konigs in Konigs anymore. It's just myself and my wife, and we've been, slowly developing the business to where it is today, and there is a lot more to do. So we have franchises now, which is Tim tractors from Korea.
Yep.
We have the Solus tractors from India. We have the Landini tractors from Italy. And they all complement the Silvan product range in the implements and spraying equipment. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it certainly does. I know from my own experience over here in WA, I can certainly vouch for that. I know some of those brands, especially the Landini brand, works in really well with the Silvan brand, and their horsepower range certainly complements our range. That's for sure. So, I mean, talking of ranges of tractors and sort of the I guess following on from that would be the markets that you serve and can you elaborate a little bit on Shepparton, where it's located for those listeners that are outside of Victoria?
Shepparton, which is known as the Goulburn Valley, is around about 200 kilometres north of Melbourne. We're basically about the centre of Victoria. It's got a vast range or various range of farming activities. We're commonly known as the fruit bowl of the country. Many people would understand and know the SPC canning factory that we have locally here. That's a world-known factory for canned fruit. We have a very large dairy industry as well as the broadacre farming community. So we are extremely lucky to have such a diversified range of farming groups that we rely on to sell our products, but it's extending further now. We're getting into, there is areas where there's goats, breeding goats, milking goats. The vegetable growing area here is increasing all the time. And we have a large diversified type of farmer today that relates to the vegetable growing area, because the traditional areas around Melbourne are starting to get swallowed up or have been swallowed up.
Yeah.
And one area in particular would be Werribee. So there's a transition of those vegetable growing areas moving into the Goulburn Valley. And this has been occurring quite heavily in the last 5 years. We have a great growing Indian community that relates very heavily to the vegetable growing area. Yeah. And this has expanded our scope of selling our products to those types of progressive farmers. There's the nut industry, for instance. We deal with nut growers, olive growers. With the fruit industry, that is a very complex area now. It's canned fruit, it's export, it's fresh fruit, local. So you can't put it all under one umbrella. And there's a huge amount of advancements in those areas. We have actually in the Goulburn Valley, there are more trees per hectare today than ever before, but it's more in a condensed area. So the row plantings are narrower, there's more tonnes per hectare grown, so we need more confined products to suit those advancements in technology as far as growing something, but we need to have the technology in the equipment we sell them. So, sprayers with over-rowers, the type of design of the sprayers, flotation comes into it because we look at the compaction that we've got to deal with today. All those areas are extremely important, and
Yep.
never should be overlooked when they look at a specific product today.
Yeah, I guess even in terms of not just spraying, but also GPS and guidance as well. So I guess there's a lot of row counting that's happening now as well in when they're going down the rows, and so they can mark off the rows that they've been down.
Yes, sonic sensing, certainly. That is certainly a great advancement. GPS guidance, well, that's been around now for quite a while, and it's something now that is standard requirements.
Yep.
We have harvesters that sense the accuracy of going down the rows now. The consistency of having computerisation on our sprayers is important. That covers a lot of the areas of QA requirements.
Certainly.
We need to get that information on available when they have audits. So, and also, the advancement of actually just programming different types of rates for different blocks. Because some particular fruit varieties grow well in this style of plantation, and it's quite different to another plantation. So having the facility to program different rates for those different paddocks are a great advantage.
Yeah. Look, I guess, Leo, there, following on from that then, this is a question that probably requires a little bit of time to process, but what can the Australian agricultural machinery manufacturers as a whole, what can they do to enhance their position in the face of increasing overseas competition?
I think there could be a lot of improvement in that line. I believe not only we are dealing with a reasonable amount of Australian manufactured product here, I feel that they need to advance a lot more in the efficiency of their manufacturing plants. They really need to actually invest in those areas to make us more competitive. And I believe that there isn't enough done in those areas to make the Australian manufacturer up to speed with overseas content.
Yeah.
I know our labour content might be higher in Australia, but our quality, a lot of manufacturing plants should be computerised now. There's a lot of areas that machines and computerisation takes care of building something, and it needs to be more streamlined. I find it very surprising that a lot of agricultural manufacturers only manufacture for a actual sale of a product from a dealer. They don't keep any stock available, or mostly they don't keep any stock available on hand for immediate sales. It's only when an order comes through.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that is very backward. As we know, if we want to be able to produce something in Australia and be effective, it's always better to build 10 of something rather than one spasmodically here and there. That to me is your back's right against the wall there.
Yeah.
So a lot of the manufacturers I see, there's no production line to put 2 or 3 of those items through, and they've got them there. There's no investment in stock retaining, and this is a big difference between overseas manufacturers and Australian manufacturers.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and that's why we should always be talking with our dealers and having this conversation. So no, we really appreciate that feedback. Leo, I was there back in 2017 at your premises, and I was surprised to see a couple of self-propelled air blast sprayers that I actually had never seen one over here in WA before. Can you talk us through those? They were yellow in colour, and they had a diesel think a 6-cylinder diesel motor that powered the air blast sprayer. Is that correct?
When we talk about a self-propelled sprayer, we're talking about something that self-propels itself to spray.
Yep.
That type of item is available overseas, as we know, but the item you're referring to is the traditional engine function air blast sprayer that Konigs produced in the past, and as far as I know, that there is a manufacturer that still produces a similar product in Canada, but in that case, what they were was they had a 6-cylinder, as you said, on the front of the chassis. It normally was around about 120 horsepower, and that drove the fan at the rear.
Yep.
Now, the whole reason behind those particular products was that our trees were, the fruit trees in the past were quite high, and any PDO-driven fan-type air blast sprayer was not, they believed it wasn't efficient enough to carry the chemical effectively to cover the full size of the tree coverage.
Yep.
So, and we still have today a number of leading orchards here that still main that principle of having engine function sprayers still operating today with dual steel fans at the rear. It's in some cases the people that designed and engineered those in Australia have now passed on.
Yep.
So in some way it's probably good because it is such old technology. The advancement of airflow through the new sprayers today is far more efficient, and so it's. I believe that probably it would be something of advancement if we did have a self-operating air blast sprayer that would spray as well as drive itself along. Yes, that is an advancement that we certainly would like to see. It is actually happening overseas for sure, also over rowers in normal, say, peach or apple growing, because it depends on how you actually train the tree, whether it's in trellis form, whether an over rower would suit that.
Yeah.
As we know, our farms here are getting more condensed, but also they have so many rows now that over rowers or self-propelled sprayers would come into their own. But that's another level that we would look at.
Yeah, okay, yep. Hey, Leo, before we finish up, I just want to touch on something that's close to me. That tractor you had in your premises there, I can't recall if it was Cleveland or Windsor-powered tractor that you had there in the display area.
You're talking about our little toy, I think, Nick.
I think so. That's the one.
Yeah. We, because we are fairly passionate in our tractor and farm machinery industry, and it was a little item that I traded a little Fergie in, and I had a 351 Cleveland V8, so we decided to put those two together. Yep. But the key there was that we wanted to maintain the two-stage clutch in it, which we did. So it's a little classic machine to. It's a talking point, quite ridiculous in some ways, but certainly a talking point.
It almost looked factory. The Cleveland just sits in there quite nicely. Actually, it was like it was supposed to be there.
No, well, anyway, our heads will swell. But the gentleman behind the little Cleveland was we had a past employee that was pretty involved in tractor pulls, and Graham Elliott was Graham was wizard in that sort of field. He was unbelievable. So thanks to Graham, he did a remarkable job putting that together. It was sort of a winter's job when we do have a bit of quiet time through winter. So we played around and we had some enjoyment putting that together.
Sure.
So, it's good.
No, it's a beauty. Hey Leo, just as we finish off, where can people find you on? Do you have a Facebook page and a website?
Our website is Konigs, shepparton.com.au, and that's what we sort of mainly steer people to.
No worries. Leo, look, we really appreciate your time on the podcast, and thanks for joining us.
Good on you, Nick. Thanks very much for the call. See ya.